She stood on my porch with a backpack slung over her shoulders and tears she was trying her best to hide. The sun was setting behind her, painting the sky in soft gold and pink, but her face looked pale and scared. "I have nowhere else to go," she said, her voice barely louder than a whisper. In that moment, I felt time slow down. I knew that whatever I said next would change both of our lives forever. Before we begin, if stories about real-life kindness and second chances touch your heart, make sure to subscribe to your channel name, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us spread more stories that remind the world there is still good out there. Now, let me tell you what happened that night. I met Emily about 6 months before she showed up at my door. We worked in the same office in a small town in Ohio. She was the new receptionist, always smiling, always polite, the kind of person who remembered your coffee order after hearing it just once. We weren't close at first. Just co-workers who said good morning and sometimes talked about weekend plans. But little by little, we started having lunch together. She told me about her love for photography, how she dreamed of one day traveling across America, capturing sunsets and small-town stories. I told her about my failed engagement the year before and how I had thrown myself into work to avoid feeling lonely. We were both carrying quiet pain, but we didn't talk about it much. One Friday afternoon, I noticed she seemed different. Her smile looked forced, and her eyes were red, like she hadn't slept. When I asked if she was okay, she brushed it off. "Just tired," she said quickly. But that evening, as I was leaving the office parking lot, I saw her sitting alone in her car, staring at her phone, crying. I almost drove away. I didn't want to intrude. But something in my heart told me to stop. I knocked gently on her window. She rolled it down, trying to wipe her tears before I could see them. "What's going on?" I asked softly. She hesitated. Then the words came rushing out. Her roommate had suddenly moved out without paying rent. Emily couldn't afford the apartment on her own. She had already been behind on bills because her father's medical expenses had drained her savings. That morning, her landlord had given her a final notice. She had 3 days to leave. "I'll figure it out," she said, forcing a weak smile. "I always do." But I could see the fear in her eyes. Over the weekend, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I imagined her packing her things, not knowing where she would sleep. I thought about how easily any of us could end up in the same situation. One unexpected bill. One emergency. One person leaving. On Sunday night, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, there she was. Backpack. Suitcase. And that same scared look. "I'm so sorry," she said. I didn't know who else to call. I tried a few friends, but they don't have space. I don't have family nearby. I have nowhere else to go. My heart pounded. I lived alone in a small 2-bedroom house. The second room was mostly empty, just boxes and an old desk. I had never imagined sharing my space with anyone again after my breakup. I had grown comfortable in my quiet, predictable life. But looking at her standing there, fighting back tears, I realized something important. Kindness isn't convenient. It doesn't wait until you feel ready. "Do you want to move in with me?" I heard myself say. Her eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Yeah," I said, taking a deep breath. "You can use the spare room. No rush. Just until you get back on your feet." For a moment, she just stared at me. Then she started crying again, but this time, they were tears of relief. She stepped forward and hugged me tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea what this means." The first few weeks were awkward. We were still figuring out boundaries and routines. We set simple rules: split groceries, keep common areas clean, respect each other's privacy. I made it clear there were no expectations. This wasn't about romance or obligation. It was about helping a friend. At night, we sometimes sat on the back porch and talked. She opened up about her father's illness and how guilty she felt for not being able to do more. She admitted she had been pretending to be strong for so long that she didn't know how to ask for help. "I hate feeling like a burden," she said one evening. "You're not a burden," I replied. "Everyone needs help sometimes. That's just being human." Slowly, I saw her change. She started smiling again, the real kind of smile that reached her eyes. She picked up freelance photography jobs on weekends. I helped her update her resume and search for better-paying positions. She began saving money, little by little. Living together also changed me. Before Emily moved in, my house had felt more like a storage space for my loneliness. I would come home, eat dinner in silence, scroll through my phone, and go to bed. Now there was laughter in the kitchen. There were shared movie nights and Sunday morning pancakes. There was life. One night, about 3 months after she moved in, she knocked on my bedroom door. "Can we talk?" she asked. We sat at the kitchen table. She looked nervous. "I got a job offer," she said. "It's in Chicago. A marketing assistant position at a big company. It's a huge opportunity." "That's amazing," I said, though I felt a small ache in my chest. "It is," she nodded. "But it means I'd have to move." There was a long silence. "I don't want you to feel like you owe me anything," I said finally. "You deserve this chance." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "You saved me," she said. "If you hadn't opened your door, I don't know where I'd be right now. You didn't just give me a place to stay. You gave me hope." The day she left, we stood on the same porch where she had once said she had nowhere else to go. This time, she was holding a small suitcase and a train ticket. Her shoulders were straight. Her eyes were bright. Before getting into the taxi, she handed me a framed photograph. It was a picture she had taken of my house at sunset, the porch glowing in golden light. On the back, she had written, "This is where my life started again." After she moved to Chicago, we stayed in touch. She sent me pictures of the city skyline, of her tiny studio apartment, of her first big project at work. She sounded happy. Strong. About a year later, I received a letter in the mail. Inside was a check for the exact amount she estimated I had spent helping her with groceries and utilities. There was also a note. "You once told me that everyone needs help sometimes. I've been promoted, and I can finally repay you. But I know kindness isn't about money. So I'm also doing something else. I've started volunteering at a local shelter. Every week, I meet people who say the same words I once said to you, 'I have nowhere else to go.' And every time, I remember what you did. I'm trying to be that open door for someone else." I sat at my kitchen table and cried. Not because I wanted the money. Not because I missed her. But because I realized something bigger than both of us. Kindness doesn't end with one act. It spreads. It multiplies. It creates a chain reaction you may never fully see. That night on my porch, I thought I was simply offering a spare room. But what I was really offering was dignity. Safety. A chance to breathe. And in return, I received something just as powerful. Connection. Purpose. The reminder that even in a world that can feel cold and divided, we still have the power to change someone's story. Maybe you don't have a spare bedroom. Maybe you can't solve someone's biggest problem. But you can listen. You can stop your car when you see someone crying. You can open your door, literally or figuratively. Because somewhere near you, someone might be standing in the fading light, holding a backpack, whispering the words, "I have nowhere else to go." And your answer might be the reason they find their way again. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still matters. And remember, sometimes the smallest act can become the beginning of someone else's second chance. Let's choose to be the open door.